If you're struggling with your thyroid being overactive, this video is for you. I've got 7 natural tips for hyperthyroidism. Okay, tip number 1 is to lower your EMF exposure. And I'm talking about man-made EMFs. And this is that electromagnetism that's coming from your devices most times, maybe from your Wi-Fi, really anything that's plugged into the wall can have that negative impact on your cellular metabolism. So one of the tips here that you can do to lower your EMFs, especially with our cell phone use, is to put your phone on airplane mode whenever you can. When lessening the EMFs, it's not perfect, but lessening the EMF exposure, and also don't put your phone right up to your thyroid. If you think about it, that proximity, and this is what the studies show, the proximity to our EMFs is what makes all the difference. So try to keep your phone away from you. And I know it's not always practical. Getting some earphone head tubes can be really helpful as well. Okay, tip number 2 is to follow Mother Nature's prescriptions. So what does this mean? This means getting grounded. So taking off your socks and your shoes and going out on the earth or out on the beach into the water and pulling up the earth's electrons, which help to decrease the inflammatory response in our body, helps to bring more electrons into our system, which is the health aspect of even your thyroid gland. We need more of those electrons. Getting more natural sunlight is part of Mother Nature's prescription as well. On our skin, but especially on our thyroid. So please make sure, ladies, if you're wearing makeup, that you're not covering this area with makeup. You don't want any sunscreen. You don't want anything blocking that proper full spectrum light from the sun getting on your thyroid gland. That's going to help to set up the clocks in your thyroid to be optimized with your circadian biology. Okay, tip number 3 for hyperthyroid is to block blue light, especially after the sun has set. So this means having lights on in your home is going to offset your proper circadian biology, again, those clocks in your thyroid, as that's compared to the master clock in your brain, the SCN. So this is something that I definitely want you to lower the lights after the sun has set. You should be in a dark environment. Wearing your blue light blocking glasses is going to become very important as well when it is dark in your homes. Okay, tip number 4 is to fix your gut. It's something that we've talked about in another hyperthyroidism video that I shared. You know, some of the causes of why the thyroid could have problems to begin with, and that comes back to those tight junctions in the gut, leaky gut, they've opened up. So avoiding foods that are high in glyphosate is going to be really important here to help to heal up that gut. Okay, tip number 5 is to avoid the halogens. So in this group, fluoride, chlorine, bromine, and there's different exposures that we have to some of these toxic halogens, and what they do is they displace iodine. Now we know that our thyroid hormone needs iodine, and having and finding that proper balance is something that's really important when we have hyperthyroidism. It's true for hypothyroidism as well. So getting natural sources of iodine becomes very important. Things like seaweed and seafood can actually be very helpful for hyperthyroidism, even though a lot of what you've been told is to avoid these foods. Okay, tip number 6 is to take out your contact lenses and wear your glasses more often. So if you do need corrective lenses, this is very interesting. And the fact that getting that full spectrum light in your eyes is very important, again, for those clock mechanisms and for actually setting the clocks in your thyroid gland to have an effect on the proper release of your thyroid hormones. And this is one of the reasons that we know that that brain-thyroid connection is very important, because as an example, what's the first test that your doctor is running to evaluate if your thyroid is out of whack? Well, it's the TSH, which is actually secreted by the brain, not by the thyroid. And that's an indicator, of course, if it's low, that your thyroid could be overactive with the hyperthyroidism. So making these connections, wearing your glasses more often to allow full spectrum light into your eyes, the contacts will block that UV light. Most contact lenses now, unfortunately, block UV, so you don't get that proper signaling for your clock mechanisms in your thyroid and in your brain. And tip number 7, you've got to speak your truth. So we know that the thyroid is in the 5th chakra. And this is important because in terms of energy medicine, we know that when we block energy, then we don't have the optimal function of the glands, the organs that are in that area. Speaking your truth, speaking what is inside of you and sharing your thoughts, your knowledge. When you're disgruntled about something or when you're sad about something, sharing those emotions becomes very important, and speaking your truth and your inner truth and what you stand for becomes very important to be able to also make sure that your thyroid is actually functioning optimally. And this is something that I'm just planting planting a seed. Some of you need to hear this. It's not always about the diet and the physical effects of things that affect our organ systems. It also has to do with the energy as to how our cells actually work. Now, I do want you to learn more about the light and that full spectrum light, sunlight coming into your eyes and how that affects your eye health in this video. It's a great video, an interview that I did with Doctor Janine, an optometrist who is optimizing people's health in terms of quantum biology, much of what I talk about here on the channel as well. And this video is called How Light Determines Your Eye Health with Dr. Janine and Dr. Janine. I hope you enjoy the episode. Make sure you leave some comments in there as well.